Hi, it's Erin. Welcome to my channel. Of course, I have my coffee here in my skull mug. And yes, Halloween is coming, but I use this all year round. So, a lot of comments on this mug. I got it from Home Goods last Halloween, I think. I actually have service for four the mugs and the matching bowls and dinner plates. So, if you're into that kind of stuff, yay. Anyway, I'm going to be talking obviously about stock photography because that's what my channel has evolved into. And I'm going to cover a few different topics today. First, I was asked a while back about how I do my spreadsheets to keep track of my various stock assets. And I had planned on doing an episode where I discussed not only that, but also my workflow. However, another YouTuber just did a very similar video a few days back. So if you're interested in workflow, go check out Woolerts. I hope that I'm saying that right. You probably already follow him if you're watching this because he's like, pretty big on YouTube, but go watch that. He has a lot of good tips on workflow. And a lot of what I would have said is what he's already said. Similar processes with using Lightroom and sorting images and uploading them. Did learn a couple things though. I am going to be checking out a program called iMstalker. I hadn't heard of that until I watched his video, and I'm very curious in how that keeps track of your images beyond like what I already do with micro stalker and keeping track of what I'm selling and how much I'm making per image. But I really want something that will it will organize my images so that I know exactly how many assets I have and what agencies they're with and things like that. That is what I've been trying to do with my spreadsheets. And I wish it is something that I had started years ago because although I can keep track of that fairly well now because I'm doing it in real time, going back to 2007, 2008, 2009, like I don't know the exact dates that I submitted those images across the sites, all of that. So I wish I had that and I don't. So I'm kind of trying to piece it all together into a spreadsheet so that I can keep track of that. But anyway, I'll go over that. I'm also going to go over my top 10 best sellers. I had started to do shorts on this and I figured I'm just going to throw this into an episode. It's a lot easier that way and you can go and see what sold the best from number 10 all the way down to my number one best selling image as far as the money that I've actually brought in from it. So we'll go over that too. So another thing I want to talk about is I have also started to self-host my images. And it's something that I've been wanting to do for a while, and I just really couldn't figure out how to do it. I wanted a way that I could have all of my images on a site and that I could license them as stock. I have worked with Zenfolio for years for my website. And in my opinion, there didn't seem to be a really easy and cost effective way to do that. When you got into the options where you were able to set your own prices on prints and downloads and things like that, it did get quite costly. So, what I have found in researching this, take a couple steps back. I had this idea come to me earlier in the week about doing this centered around coastal photography. I realized that so many of my images focus on the Jersey Shore, on sailing, on surfing, on fishing boats, on, abstract photos of the ocean, on all sorts of stuff, wildlife, a lot of that. And I just had this idea, coastal stock popped into my mind, and I thought, huh, that's kind of a niche area for stock photography when I'm dealing with all things coastal related, especially living so close to the Jersey Shore and whatnot. And I'm like, how can I make that work? And that's when I started to look around and look for sites. And I found information on Photo Shelter, which I've heard of before, and I think I even used back years ago, but not at a time when I was doing what I'm doing now. And I'm sorry, you're going to hear doggies in the background again, and one behind me over here. So I started to look more into Photo Shelter, and I realized that it would be very easy for me to create my website there, upload a lot of pictures for what I was paying, and also sell them as prints, license them as stock downloads, all of this in a very simple manner. And granted, it's not, I've been doing it now for several days, putting my stuff up there, getting it set up. It's not perfect, but nothing ever is. There's always things that you think, oh, I wish they'd only offer this feature, or why can't this program or this hosting service do this or that? But what I found is that what they offer through Photo Shelter for the cost that they're charging you, for the price that they're charging you, rather, is really, really good. So I'm trying that out now. I'm still on their free plan. I'll be moving up to their $20, I think it's $20 a month, their monthly plan, if I choose to go past the free trial phase. And I just really like what I'm seeing so far. So Coastal Sock has been born, and we will see if I can make money hosting these images on my own, in addition to working with the various microstock agencies. So let's talk a little bit about what I have done to track my various stock assets. As I said, I'm not going to go very deep into my workflow. I'm just going to touch a little bit on the spreadsheets that I use. I do use Microsoft Excel. However, you could certainly use Google Sheets or a similar type of program. So I am going to try to bring up this screen here in a moment, but basically I have it broken down into the names of the photos, whether they are images, illustrations, AI images, or videos, the date that I uploaded them, whether they're editorial or creative images, and then the particular agencies. And I'll go over what I keep track of as far as that goes. So I'm guessing that you can probably see this right now. This is just, I've enlarged this quite a bit so that you can see there's a lot of stuff here, obviously. So I'm just kind of scrolling through this. And you can see that up on the top, that my very first column is the name of the image or the video. Then I have it broken down into, let me scroll up here so you can see this a little bit better. Okay, so these are my most recent ones. I have it broken down into whether it's an image, an illustration, because I have done some illustrations over the course of time, whether it's an AI image, which I'm playing around with now, a video, etc. So these first images that you see here are they're all actual photographic images. So they are listed in the image column along with how many images I have in that series. So for instance, arriving in St. Thomas Port 2006, I'm submitting some older photos now, some travel photos. I have 5 very similar images in that series. So I'm grouping them as one. I'm grouping them on one row here. If I were to list every single one of those images separately, I would have so many rows that it would start getting very difficult to work in Excel. And the same thing if you were working in another spreadsheet program. It would just get to be too much, especially when you have a portfolio. I'm over 6,000 images, almost to 7,000 images across all of the various sites now. So that would be a lot. I'd be scrolling to get to the bottom. Okay. So I put them in as a series, and then like I said, whether they're images, illustrations, AI videos, etc., the date that I'm submitting them, I'm keeping track of this now. Years ago, I didn't. So the ones at the very bottom, which are my oldest images, do not have a date when they were submitted. I also keep track of whether they're editorial or creative images. And then you will see after that, the different columns are the various agencies that I work with. Now, ideally, I would keep track of where each image was accepted and all of that. But, for instance, when you're dealing with a series like this very first one that I have here now, 5 images that were very similar in that series, okay, they don't get accepted to every single agency. So to go through the numbers of images that I'm submitting regularly and to say, okay, this many were accepted onto Adobe Stock and this many onto Shutterstock, and it's going to get very cumbersome. So I'm not doing that. I'm using these columns as a way to indicate if they're exclusive with an agency, basically. So I do have a collection of images that are rights managed and they're exclusive with Archangel. So where those images are listed on the spreadsheet, I would just list the license type and it would say RM under the Archangel column. I also have a small catalog of images with cabin images. They're a distribution type of stock site, and they have to be exclusive. So it's listed there that they're RF licenses with cabin. Um, Also, there's certain images that I have listed specifically with Alamy as some archival stuff that's rights managed. That would be listed in the Alamy column. And then also, I'll use this, like, say there was a series that I submitted years ago of Barbie dolls that for some reason I found out recently hadn't gone into Shutterstock. Why? I don't know. It could have been that I just didn't submit them at the time. It could have been that they were submitted and declined because they weren't looking for that type of content at that point. But either way, I went and I submitted them to Shutterstock not too long ago. And then I just put the date in the Shutterstock column that I submitted them, if that makes sense. So that when I'm going back and looking, I know, like, hey, like, these images are there, but I didn't submit them until recently. And then I can also keep track of, like, whether they're selling when I see in Microstalker that, hey, this image sold on Shutterstock for the first time. Oh yeah, I just submitted that recently. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. That's a lot of information, but it kind of gives you an idea of my thought process. So that's basically how I keep track of my stock assets. I also use Excel to keep track of my business expenses. Now, I won't share that sheet because that has like a lot of other information on it that I don't want to share with the world, personal stuff. So, but I do use that so that when it's time to do my taxes and whatnot, I have all of my expenses broken down. All of, when I'm getting paid from various agencies are listed on there. I have it color coded, like my payments are like highlighted in green, like all this different stuff. And I keep track of everything. So I can see exactly what my gross income is, what my net income is after all of my expenses, my subscriptions, and, professional memberships or anything like that that I need to maintain for running a business. I run a sole proprietorship. So I run it as an individual essentially. But that's the other thing that I use spreadsheets for. So I hope that just that little bit of me touching on how I do my spreadsheets might help you or give you some thoughts as far as how you can track your microstock submissions or your business expenses and all of that. So it's a good thing. If you don't already know how to use Excel or a similar program, you might find that it comes in very useful for a lot of things. I am a geek when it comes to this sort of thing. I always have been since I first learned Excel. And I just love tracking every little detail and running the formulas and seeing things add up and, just being able to keep track of money and whatnot in there. But that's me. I'm a weirdo. What can I say? So let's move on and talk about my top 10 best selling images. And to do that, I'm going to go over to Microstalker. So let me share my screen again here. Okay, so here we are in Microstalker, and we're going to go through my 10 top selling images as far as the actual income that I brought in for those images. We are going to start with my 10th best selling image. So this is number 10. We're going to work our way down to the number one image. This is an image that I did. It's supposed to be like a vintage daguerreotype image. You can use them over photos as an overlay or use them as textures or backgrounds or anything. They do sell rather well. I also use them in my personal work when I'm doing different types of projects. So I personally love using stuff like this to make things look distressed and vintage and whatnot. This particular image has been downloaded 181 times, and I have made $148.81 off of this. Now, it says that it was only downloaded through Adobe Stock. I do know that it was downloaded for a small amount through another agency, so that amount is actually a little bit higher. With Microstalker, you do sometimes have to go through and do what's called matching the images, and it will match everything again to group them together so that it will give you correct stats on these. However, it takes a long time to do. I started to do the matching this morning and I just couldn't get through it. So know that like some of these figures are slightly off, but it gives you a general idea. So that is number 10. Going to number 9. This is an image. My cousin's husband owns a restaurant, and back years ago, he said, "Can you come in and photograph some of the dinners for me?" So I did. I went in and I photographed them. And this is a New York strip steak with like the glass of red wine next to it, the veggies, the potatoes, everything. This particular image and some others in this series have been extremely popular. You can see that it's been downloaded 353 times, and over the course of many years, 10 years now, and I'm still selling it somewhat. $153.31 was made off just this one image from that shoot that I did. So that's number 9. Coming in at number 8, took a picture of vintage sheet music on a whim. And you will see that this has turned out to be one of my most popular series ever. Just this one image from this series has been downloaded 241 times across various stock agencies and has made me $160.41. So that's number 8. Number 7, think outside the box with your images, I always say. What do you have sitting around your house that other people don't? Now, granted, a lot of people probably have Monopoly sitting around. I happen to have an older one from the 80s. I photographed it. Here's the little house. So maybe people are doing stories on the cost of real estate or real estate type things or just board games in general, whatever. Has become a very popular image, downloaded 249 times, and I have made $171.07 off of this image. And you can see that for whatever reason in 2022, I sold that particular image a lot. These Monopoly pieces tend to sell really well when things are going on with like, prices of real estate and like mortgage rates and stuff like that. So that's been a very popular image. So my number 6 most sold or highest earned image in stock is this image that I took. I was in Princeton, New Jersey. I think it was in January, so all the Christmas decorations were still up, and I noticed that all of these doors in this downtown area were decorated beautifully with wreaths over them, and I thought this looks really cool. So I took a bunch of pictures of these individual doors, and over the years they've sold really well. This particular one with the black door has been downloaded 190 times and has made me $173.06. So that was a good series. They're still selling. I put them online in around 2017, 2016, 2017. I'm not too sure. This one started selling in 2017, and it's still selling a little bit now. So some of these images will sell for quite a few years. So this one, I did well with this one. So that was a good idea to start photographing these doors when I saw how pretty they looked. Okay, we're in the top 5 now. So my 5th best-selling image, baseball cards. My husband had these old baseball cards, and I just kind of laid them out willy-nilly on a flat surface, and I started photographing them. And I think I maybe only had like in the end like 2 or 3 images that I actually submitted. And this I've had on for 10 years. This one image, this square image, downloaded 494 times and has made me $350.75 off of just that one image. And I can tell you that this is one of those shoots that I just like photographed them rather quickly, uploaded them, keyworded them and sent them out. And one of those unexpected things. But whenever, the playoffs are coming or the World Series are coming or whatever, or baseball season starts, like this image starts to sell. I've sold a bunch of these recently. Okay. So you can see still selling very well in 2024. So simple concepts of things that you have laying around your house that other people might not, and you don't know what's going to happen. So it's sold as an editorial image, of course. And that photo did really, really well. Number 4, you're going to recognize this one because it was shot in the same series as that first sheet music image that I showed you. Okay. So this one did even better than the other one. 636 downloads, $375.11. So shooting sheet music just because I had it and I'm like, hey, let's see what happens. And stuff still sells. Into the top 3 now. My number 3 best-selling image ever is a replica of the car from the DeLorean from Back to the Future. Okay. This image, this whole entire series of these cars, I've said it before, if I was shooting these cars at this public car show for 20 minutes, it was a lot. My daughter was cranky, wanted to go home. I took a bunch of photos, went home, did some basic edits that are allowed on editorial work, uploaded them, and the rest is history. This one image of just this one car has been downloaded over 1,200 times and has made me $713.03 for just this one image. So that again was a surprise. And I think one of the reasons why this did sell so well is because there was an anniversary of the movie shortly after I uploaded this, and it just started selling like crazy. Like all of a sudden, one day, I was noticing that it was just selling again and again and again and again on the different stock sites. So that was really really wild when that happened. You just never know what people want, and you don't know like what's coming up. Did something happen at a specific location that you photographed at? Is there an anniversary of a movie or something going on with something that you shot editorially? Keep all of that in mind, okay? Especially with stuff like this. Moving on to number two. Now, this next photo that I'm going to show you was actually only downloaded one time, but one time made me $750. Okay. So I know that I've seen these different YouTube videos over the years where people are saying, oh, these stock photographers, they say you can make $800 off of one image. It's just not true. It's just not possible. Hello, over here. This happened to me. This actually happened to me back in 2021. I had just gone on to check my income to see if I'd made any money. And I was like, is this a mistake? What's going on here? Like, what was this licensed for? I don't know. What type of license was it? I don't really even know. Okay. All I know is that I was in New York City one day taking pictures on an early, I think it was a Sunday morning. I drove in with my husband and my daughter. We're walking around. Everybody's still sleeping. It was nice and quiet. We're in the financial district. We're in the financial district rather. And that's actually, I don't know how well you can see it on the screen, but on the left-hand side in the distance, there's two people walking. That's my husband and my daughter. I basically snapped this photo of the bicycle in the foreground with the buildings in the background and just a couple people walking there. And this ended up being my second best-selling image of all time, and it only got downloaded once. So that is, to me, that's just like, that's crazy. Now, I will say that nothing like this has ever happened again. So it does happen, but it doesn't happen often. I just got very lucky. My number one best-selling image, you'll recognize this because here we are again in that series with the sheet music. And this was just a panoramic crop that I did. And this still sells extremely well, even 10 years later. And 1,778 downloads to the tune of $1,273.10 for some old sheet music that I had lying around. You don't know what people need. Photograph what you have and see what happens. Again, that series was a surprise. Didn't expect this to happen. But yeah, over the course of 10 years for one image, it brought in some nice little extra change here and there. Nice extra little bit of income for my family. So, you know, photograph everything and see what happens. You just don't know with stock who wants what, who needs what. You never know. So those are my top 10 as far as the actual money that I've made off of them. I could do another series that I could show you the top downloads as far as how many times they've been downloaded. Then you'll see some similarities, but some a little bit of different ones pop in there. But in general, that gives you an idea of, and I don't even know if you would have thought that those 10 were the ones that were the top sellers. It's to me, it's just always surprising. So that's about all that I have for today. And if anybody has any questions, put them down below. Please like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed, because I release, or at least I try to release this content once a week now. I might be moving up to twice a week. I'm not sure. We'll see. And thank you so much for tuning in, and I will talk to you next time. Enjoy that coffee. Bye.